everyone, and welcome to this edition of Abbey Research Reads. I am Dr. Kristen, and today I would like to talk to you about this book, The Woman's Hour by Elaine Weiss, which is the story of how Tennessee ratified the 19th Amendment, which is the amendment that officially gave enfranchisement to women, which at the time technically meant white women, and then it would expand to women of all colors later on in our history. But the battle for Tennessee was incredibly intense. It put the two camps of the suffrage parties, the more kind of militant one led by Alice Paul versus the more, I guess, diplomatic one led by Mrs. Catt, as she was known, who was a protege of Elizabeth Cady Stanton and kind of the beginning suffragists. It really traces the birth of the suffrage movement out of abolition. And for my particular educational needs that I was really looking for at the time, it really lays out the intersections of racism and suffrage that exist, and why different people made the compromises they made, or why people prioritized what they prioritized. Because it also focuses on the anti-suffrage movement led by, a lot of people, to be honest. It started off as kind of a movement paid for by a white newspaper man, and then it really grew from there. And I was reading this as Dr. Aaron and I were watching Mrs. America, which is concurrently airing as our streaming reviewed property. And some of the parallels were insane. There were times that Phyllis Schlafly felt like she was lifted directly out of this book. And the same conversations are happening over and over and over again since the first wave of feminism. What does it mean to be a woman? What does it mean to be an American woman? Is being a mom more or less valid than being not a mom? Is what do working moms kind of fit in society? How do we support working parents? All these kind of things. And we're not learning the lessons. Or if we're learning lessons, we seem to be learning potentially the wrong ones, because we're having the same conversations over and over and over again. If you're interested in this 100-year anniversary year of the movement for suffrage, I'd really recommend this one. It's a page turner. I mean, it's thick. The letters are tiny. I admittedly took a lot of breaks just because it's a lot of dense information with characters I wasn't really familiar with. But Weiss's prose is snappy. It doesn't like lag at any point in time. It's really careful to introduce how complicated this matter was. And I think those of us who were born, after this generation are kind of like, well, why was women voting even a thing? That's so dumb. Like, why were we so backwards? In the same way that sometimes we think about it when in terms of civil rights. And it's important to understand how complicated the matters were, to understand how complicated the fight was, and how at different times in history, very good people with the best of intentions in their understanding of humanity have been on the wrong side of history. There are also monsters. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that there are good people on every side of every argument. What I'm trying to say is that humans are complicated, and so is history. And this is a really, really good kind of a good troubling of American history to understand how something so simple, the idea that it is the right of every American citizen to vote in every election, literally people gave their lives for it. And not in war, but women who were force-fed and who were imprisoned. And it's not a joke. It's not a joke, and it's not something that we should be taken for granted. So, highly recommended, The Woman's Hour by Elaine Weiss. If you've got other books on suffrage, or if you're also a little bit like me, taking a look at suffrage in this centennial year, let me know in the comments what you're reading and what you're learning. So, that's all for now for this edition of Abbey Research Reads. I'll see you guys next time.